Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. Let's see who we have on tonight. We have 91 Leeds. Great to see you, 91 Leeds. Raven 1983 Witch is here. Great to see you. Colin Thompson is on. Great to see you, Colin. Ava is here. Great to see you. We also have... Who else have we got? Killer. Thanks for moderating, Killer. Great to see you. David McGuinness is on. Thanks so much, David, for coming on. And make sure to check out Indie Truck Davies, the Two Davies YouTube channel on Everything Scotland. We also have Amax C. We have Tiny Demolition Lover. Great to see both of you. Hope you're well. We have Jared Mack. Great to see you. We also have Ak is Mad. Great to see you, Ak is Mad. We have John O'Sullivan. Great to see you, John. Viking President Stu of Stewland. Great to see you. Stefan is here. Great to see you. Chatty Rat is here too. We have... Let me see... CGM, great to see you, CGM. Hope you're well tonight. Cosmic Comic is on. Great to see you. Hope you're well. Daily Blase, great to see you. Make sure to check out Daily Blase's YouTube channel if you haven't already. Maria Sock Juice is here. Great to see you. Frederick, Jim. Who else have we got? Knuckles, I think I'm pronouncing it right. Young Ralph is great. It's great to see you, Young Ralph, once again. And so many more. Hope you're all very well. Hope you had a nice week and ready for a nice weekend. I see Cavan Ladd is here. Sir Larry the Cat is on. Great to see you. Birthday. Thank you very much, everyone. Yes, tomorrow is my birthday. Don't remind me, I'm getting old. Very old. So, you know, when you get past a certain... What is the age where you try to forget how old you are anymore? So, is it 30? I'm a bit more than 30. So, 1977. So, if you... that's when I was born. So, what is it? 46. Oh, my goodness. A lot. So, let's start out. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened in Scotland, of course. A little bit about Brexit, security, and Liverpool. So there is a very important event this weekend, the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. And of course, the Sun newspaper, which is, of course, not welcome in Liverpool at all, is banned, I believe. If its sale is banned in Liverpool, it's created a bit of conflict with Keir Starmer, because Keir Starmer has said that he's willing to give interviews and, write articles for the Sun, which is not going down very well, of course, in Liverpool. We'll get to that a little bit later. So I just want to start off with this article here from The Guardian. It says here, Starmer says, Labour blew the doors off by election. Starmer continues, when I left here a week ago with the team, I said, you've got to win it, I think he means. You blew the doors off. He congratulates Shanks. Scottish voters turned their back on the Tory government, but also not so long ago saw the Labour Party that drifted away from them. We've changed, and because we've changed, we are now the party of change in Scotland. We're the party of change in Britain, the party of change across the whole country. So this is something that Starmer seems to be pushing, along with Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak is talking about we're the party of change. I asked the question before, what does Labour represent in Scotland, apart from the Union? Because the SNP represent progressive policies. What does the Labour Party represent? Now, it seems that because of this by-election, the Labour Party has been given a boost. A massive boost. It seems that there was a swing towards the Labour Party away from both the SNP and the Tories. The Tories lost their deposit for the election. Now, I don't know whether that was because of tactical voting or because just people are not very happy with the Tories in Scotland. Could this be emulated in the general election? Probably not. There's, of course, Labour and their supporters will say, yes, this will point to a massive victory for the Labour Party in the general election, but people vote for different reasons during the general and compared to by-elections. So you can't really use this as a barometer for whether, and I'm not downplaying the victory here. It's a massive victory for the Labour Party. It's going to give them a boost. This is wonderful news for Keir Starmer. But I think when it comes to the general election, the people of Scotland are going to vote for what they want in Scotland and what government they want in Westminster. They want, of course, SNP representing Scotland in Westminster, and if the Labour Party, I think the Labour Party will, of course, pick up some seats. I don't think there's going to be a massive landslide also in Scotland. Some people will pick up seats because of the enthusiasm for change to get rid of the Tories. This will flow into Scotland as well. It will, but I don't see it. I don't see it emulating in the same way as this by-election because people vote for different reasons. The SNP voters didn't turn out. A message to the SNP to pull their finger out, says Woods by me. Yeah, so turnout was pretty low and it was lower than average. So it meant that many SNP voters stayed at home. Why did they stay at home? This is a question that the SNP needs to ask themselves. They need to convince people to come out and vote, because there's no point just expecting people to come out and vote. You need to get them out, and it's going to be, I think, the ground game for the SNP in Scotland, of course, is going to be much bigger than the ground game that the Labour Party have. So I think the SNP going into the general election will, of course, have a massive advantage. There is also the disadvantage, I think, of the incumbent, where do they want to see some sort of change? What's interesting is that support following this by-election, a poll came out today, I think it was, and support for independence is up. So independence support, and this is what many people on the independent side have been saying for years, is that independence is not tied to the SNP. So it's a case of, yes, people will vote for independence irrespective of the SNP. And there are, it must be said, while the Labour Party bigwigs are against independence, a lot of young people who voted for the Labour Party, probably in this by-election, they would be supportive of independence. So there's a greater number of people who are supportive of independence, both in and outside the Labour Party. And that's something that's not really mentioned in the media. 10 years younger than me, Max boy. You've got you've had a hard paper round. Thanks so much, David. Great to see you on the stream. We have to get you on the Sunday roast, you and maybe Jenny once again, to discuss this, because we won't be doing it this weekend, but it would be good to get your take from you guys on what's going to happen with the SNP going forward, because I personally think that the party has suffered a great deal with the loss of Sturgeon. I think she was a lightning rod for the SNP, and with her gone, I think it's going to be difficult. I don't know if the leadership can fill her shoes. The new leader can fill her shoes. I think it's going to be a struggle for him. It has been so far, and I think the battle against the Tories is going to be a different one battle for the SNP, the battle against the Labour Party. Will the Labour Party be more open to a Section 30, be more open to another referendum? I don't know. Many people within the SNP and the independence movement believe no, it's going to be just the same again, because Starmer is not like Jeremy Corbyn, for example. So Corbyn may have been more open if he had become Prime Minister to a second referendum for the Scots, but Keir Starmer has ruled that out. Turnout was 37%, pretty poor. That's why it's if you want to win, you need to get people out, and it's interesting. It'd be interesting to know why so many SNP voters didn't bother to turn out. Hi Max in chat. I want to see the Labour Party win elections, but I don't want them to win in Scotland. For me, preferred option would be a coalition government with SNP and Labour. I don't see that happening because they want two different things. And I don't see, if the polling continues as it is, if this is emulated in the general election, Labour won't need the SNP to form a government. They'll have a massive majority. Ideal situation, of course, would be a hung parliament, but that's probably going to be a case of the Labour Party going into coalition with the Liberal Democrats, not with the SNP. I don't see a situation where the SNP and Labour go into government together. The most you could probably expect is some sort of supply from the SNP, but that seems to be a remote possibility as well. Just a bit more on that.
A jubilant welcome for Labour's newest MP, Michael Shanks, as he arrived at the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election count with the Scottish Labour leader, Anna Sarwar. The result was never in doubt on the night. The only issue was whether Labour's victory would be big enough to provide a springboard for major gains from the SNP for Sir Keir Starmer at the general election.
Michael Shanks, Scottish Labour Party, 17,840.
Minutes later came confirmation that Mr Shanks had overturned an SNP majority of more than 5,000 into a Labour majority approaching 10,000, with a massive swing of more than 20%.
And I declare that Michael Shanks is elected to serve in the United Kingdom Parliament as a member for Rutherglen and Hamilton West constituency.
Sorry, Jim says, Mickey Shanks sounds like a Peaky Blinder. It does, actually.
Mr Shanks claimed the Labour Party is on the way back.
There's absolutely no doubt that this result shows that there's no part of the United Kingdom that Labour can't win. It's been a long...
Northern Ireland. Not just, I know what he means by this anyway, but no part of Great Britain that Labour can't win. Look, this is one seat, okay? You know, you don't want to pump it too much. It's one by-election. Yes, it doesn't mean that Labour can win anywhere. They can win in unexpected places, yes, but okay.
Time in Scotland, Labour building back to a place where people can trust us again. The leadership of Keir Starmer and Anna Sarwar's got us to a place where people have put their trust in us.
Mr Sarwar claimed the result has profound implications for the whole of the UK.
In the last 2 years of my leadership, we have tried to get Scottish Labour back in the pitch, to give the people of Scotland a Labour Party worthy of the name. And what we can see is Scotland's going to lead the way in delivering a UK Labour government.
The SNP...
Okay, look, as I said, Labour in Scotland won't really have any impact. If the Labour Party win a massive majority and they win a few seats in Scotland, you would be hoping that this would mean that the Labour Party in Scotland would put pressure on the Labour Party in Westminster to help Scotland, to make it a bit more equitable. But I don't know, that remains to be seen. Fearless Wall, thanks so much for that super chat. If we don't get independence, I'm claiming asylum in Roisin's garage. I don't think you'll be the only one. Fearless Wall. Thanks for that.
He blamed the COVID rule breaking of former MP Margaret Ferrier for the scale of the party's defeat.
Margaret Ferrier's behaviour throughout this entire process has been disgraceful. I don't think there's any doubt about that. There is no doubt that this backdrop for this by-election has been challenging for the SNP. I think the First Minister has acknowledged that from the outset. But look, I think you cannot transpose a result at a by-election with a variable turnout and transpose that to a general election.
The Conservatives' vote collapsed, with their candidate losing his deposit. But even though this was only a by-election, based on this result, Labour could win up to 40 seats in Scotland at the general election.
Okay, once again, you can't base by-election results and a swing in a by-election to the general election, because you know Labour Party are not going to invest the resources necessary to achieve that. They threw the kitchen sink at this by-election. So, yes, they got back a wonderful result for the party, but you can't use that. People voted for different reasons in the by-election, and also turnout was much lower. So you're comparing apples and oranges here. They're still fruit, okay. Apples and oranges are still fruit, but it's not a reasonable comparison. Load of shite, as Melissa is it says. Okay, moving on. Staying with Labour, so of course the Labour Party conference is on this weekend, and some things will be left off the table, it seems. Calls for Brexit debate could cause policy row at Labour conference. I had this open before. Okay. The constituency party of the Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves is among 30 backing a motion for debate for Labour's conference that could open up a major argument over about Brexit. A motion for the Labour Movement for Europe, which calls for the party to make commitments including negotiating a visa system with the EU, is amongst those being considered for debate at the conference in Liverpool this weekend. Supporters of Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, have been canvassing delegates to vote for different motions to be debated on the conference floor. The party's centrist, largest centrist grouping, Labour to Win, has messaged supporters urging them to vote for 6 specific topics to be debated, including the NHS in Ukraine, but not the European Union. It seems, not Brexit. The hope is that this will minimise controversy by sticking to policy areas agreed on behind closed doors in meetings of the constituency Labour parties, unions and others during the National Policy Forum discussions this year. The message said it is essential that all the votes for these to ensure that supporters of the leadership have control of the conference agenda. It goes on to say that this would stop critics of the leadership, such as Momentum Group, including unhelpful motions. Luke Arkwurst, a co-director of Labour to Win, said, "We don't want an argument at Labour Party conference that would create unnecessary divisions as we head towards a general election. We're very happy with the text on Europe and a range of subjects that were carefully negotiated at the NPF. This is not about how we feel about Brexit, or about how the members feel. There is no way that having a debate about Europe would be in the party's interest at this point. It could spiral off in any direction given, for example, and the very divergent ways in which the different constituencies voted in the referendum." So this is basically, we're not going to talk about Brexit because Brexit is still quite divisive, and it would upset a lot of people, and it could potentially derail the conference. Sorry, this is to be expected. Labour don't want to talk about Brexit. They want to limit as much. The whole idea when it comes around, the whole policy around Brexit is make Brexit work. Not talk about specifics. Not talk about rejoining the European Union. Not talk about anything that would help people. Just make Brexit work. The Tory Brexit is the problem. We're going to make it work. And that seems to be the policy. And it seems to be a case of Keir Starmer and the party executive making a decision of, okay, what are we going to talk about? And everything else is off the table. And we're not going to have a debate. And any debate that takes place will be within the limits that we have put in place. It will not be a free debate. It will not be there won't be any controversial issues. It will be very mild, I think. This is about control. This is about making sure that the public believe that the party is principled and the party leadership are in control. They don't want chaos. This is disappointing because you would imagine the things that are really, like, Ukraine is important. but it's not important to the average voter. You know, these are, like, to include Ukraine in this and not Brexit, not freedom of movement, not rejoining the single market or the customs union or the European Union. These are things that people care about. They want to see businesses improve. They want to see the economy improve. And if the UK were to say, tomorrow we're going to start the process, we're going to hold a referendum, we're going to begin the process of building our relationship back with the European Union with the goal of rejoining, I think this would actually boost the economy because it would attract investment. Yes, what we want to do is undo the damage of Brexit. We want to go in the opposite direction. Brad, thanks so much for that super chat. Brexit, more to boot and Voldemort. Yes, I think you said it before at the last live stream, and you're completely correct. It's like in Monty Python, we don't talk about the war. You know, it's frustrating because you need to talk about, this is an important issue for many people, and you have to differentiate yourself from the Tories. Now, I understand this is about control, so we keep the menu of discussion as bland as possible so that we don't create any controversy and the media don't point the finger at us as being out of control, because we have to present ourselves as disciplined, unlike the Tories. But at what cost? That's the problem. So don't expect many debates about Brexit, only how do we make Brexit work, apart from that. Okay, moving on. Sunak's spiteful sale of land intended for HS2 dashes hopes of revival. Oh, this is gone again. Sorry. A future Labour government would not be able to easily reverse Rishi Sunak's decision to scrap the northern leg of HS2, as he has spitefully authorised the sale of properties which were subject to compulsory purchase orders on part of the route. Steve Rotherham, the Mayor of London City Region, said the move killed HS2 stone dead and would tie the future government's hands and make the delivery of HS2 for the north all but impossible. Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, on Thursday refused to commit to building HS2, telling ITV News Meridian, "What I can't do is stand here now and say that they have taken a wrecking ball to the project and say that we can simply reverse it. What I will say is we will work with leaders across the country to make sure that we have the transport we need between our cities and within our cities, and projects that can actually be delivered." The government failed to deny that HS2 would be extended to Euston unless enough private investment was secured to pay for the new station. So this seems to be a case of, once again, the Tories trying to destroy the future. You know, not just leaving a poison chalice for the next administration, but sowing salt salting the earth. You know, trying to make it as difficult, if not impossible, for a future government to undo some of the damage they have done. This is, you know, one thing is the damage of the last 13 years. Another is putting in place measures to stop that damage being undone. What a spiteful party this is. And this is part of their attempts to, and I believe what they're going to do is they're trashing the economy at the moment. They don't give a crap about ordinary people. They don't give a crap about growing the economy. They're happy to see it trashed so that when they're kicked out and they're in opposition, they're going to snipe from the sidelines saying that, look, the Labour Party are not doing a good job. They need to be kicked out. We are the party of sound government. Vote us back in. And their friends in the media, of course, will go along with that. And there is a real risk that what will happen is Starmer and the Labour Party will take over. They'll take over in an absolute disaster. And then the Tories sniping from the sidelines in opposition will bring down the Labour government with their friends in the media. And Starmer will be removed, be replaced. And then at the next general election, it's possible, I hope it's not the case, but it's possible that the Conservatives could be back in again. That is why it's so frigging important to support proportional representation, to end Tory rule forever. Because this is a big problem, and I don't think Starmer understands this or doesn't care. Maybe he understands it but just doesn't care, or he thinks it's the situation is something else. There's a real possibility that when Labour get in, they'll take over this poison chalice. They won't be able to fix problems. They're going to muddle through. They're going to impose another type of austerity, and this is going to turn the public against them. I know they haven't set the bar very high on expectations. They're lowering expectations. They're saying, what we're going to take over is a disaster, and don't expect too much from us. But people will expect change. They will expect things to improve. If you don't deliver on that, they're going to kick you out. I keep saying this. Elections are referendums on the incumbent. When the Labour Party are the incumbent, they're going to have to do something good for the public. They're going to have to do something radical. If they don't, they're going to be removed. That's why I think there's also in the US there's a real fear that Joe Biden could be removed because the public are starting to turn against him. And if they, a lot of people turned out to vote for Joe Biden, not because they liked Joe Biden, because they didn't like Trump. And there's a real risk that Trump will come back. Nostalgia is one thing. People forget what happened when Trump was in charge. Trump, a lot of the backlash against Trump was during the pandemic. People didn't like the way he was dealing with it. That's over now. That's done and dusted. So what is Biden offering people? In the same way, the Labour Party will have to offer something to the public if they want to remain in power. This isn't like 1997, okay, where there's a real desire for change. And, whether you like him or not, Tony Blair was a bit of a superstar. Keir Starmer is not that. Anything but that. And of course, the situation is completely different. Kevin, thanks so much for that. Thank you so much for that slice of cake. Very kind of you. I will enjoy it. Thank you very much. We have a super chat from Fearless Wolf. Former Transport Secretary Chris Grayling to step down after cancer diagnosis. I'm very sorry to hear that he's going through that. I don't like these people's politics, but I'm sorry to hear that he's been diagnosed. I hope it's not terminal. I hope he's able to get treatment for that. Thanks, Fearless Wolf. Moving on. Security. This was a story that just popped up. I thought would be interesting for us to have a look at. MPs and peers call for immediate stop to live facial recognition surveillance. Dozens of cross-party MPs and peers have joined a campaign for an immediate stop to the use of live facial recognition surveillance by police and private companies. The former Cabinet Minister David Davis, not a huge fan of him, but anyway, the Liberal Democrat leader Sir Davy and Green MP Caroline Lucas and the former Shadow Attorney General Shami Chakambaraki Bhakti, are among 65 members of the House of Commons and Lords to call for the halt of the technology's use. The campaign is spearheaded by the privacy advocate Big Brother Watch and also backed by 31 groups including Liberty, Amnesty International and the Race Equality Foundation. Police have deployed live facial recognition at large-scale public events, including King Charles' coronation. Statement said, "We hold differing views about the live facial recognition surveillance, ranging from serious concerns about the incompatibility with human rights to the potential for discriminatory impact, the lack of safeguards, and the lack of evidence base, an unproved case of necessity or proportionality, the lack of sufficient legal basis, the lack of parliamentary consideration, and the lack of democratic mandate. We call on the UK police and private companies to immediately stop using live facial recognition for public surveillance." There's a big concern about, not just the police using it, but private companies using this. This is really concerning. And as we see more and more private companies working with the state, a lot of the security, for example, being privatized, this is concerning. What are they doing with this sort of data? And, if David Davis is on it, I'm a bit concerned. But if Caroline Lucas is on board, then it seems that, this is something to be really concerned about. It's not just some, tinfoil hat brigade protest. It seems to be something serious. Labour won't introduce PR as it would result in the party splitting into three parties: centre-left, Social Democrats, left, Socialist and hard left. Those same would happen to the Tories. I hope that's not... Yeah, Chatty Rad, I agree with you. That's exactly what would happen. But it would happen to the Tories as well. So yes, you have the two main parties, which are umbrella groups. Within the Labour Party, you have... Where's V when needed? Exactly. The two main parties are umbrella groups. You have the Conservatives, small C Conservatives within the Labour Party on one side, and then you have the Marxists on the other side. And they realize, look, if we want to have some sort of influence, we need to vote for this party. The same with the Conservatives. You have the centre, the centre-right people, and then you have the headbangers. If there was PR, these parties would split up. They would divide up into smaller parties, and then you would have more coalition governments, because no party would be able to win a majority on their own, and it would water down the more extremes. At the moment, people will say, well, you shouldn't have PR because then you'd end up with people like Nigel Farage in government or in Parliament. Yes, but you have a political party that is emulating the BNP, emulating UKIP, emulating the National Front at the moment, using their language. So, and that's under first past the post. So you can't say, well, we need to keep first past the post to keep fascists out when fascists are actually in government. So that argument is gone. So it makes more sense to have a proportional representation. You would have the Green Party would have dozens of seats. The Conservatives wouldn't be able to. The Conservatives would split into a more moderate pro-European party, and you'd have the Headbanger Party. The Headbanger Party could be in power, but they would have to go into coalition with somebody more moderate, and the moderates would water down the extremists. That's how it normally works. Is it perfect? Of course it's not. No system is perfect, but it'd be much better than what's in the current state of affairs. Guys, we're about halfway through, so just want to take a short break, comedy moment, and we'll be back in just a jiffy with more serious stuff. So hope you enjoy this.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin.
I could weep, Anthony. I really could.
Yeah.
I was looking at my favourite Facebook page, old footage from yesteryear, and there was some gorgeous old video from London in 1927.
I love those, Colin. Always interesting to see the nostalgia.
Yeah, and I agreed with every single comment underneath that pedos should be hanged.
Right, not sure I see the link there, Colin.
Those were the better days, mate.
Oh, yeah, they were the better days. The brief period of respite between two of the deadliest wars in human history.
Which I'd trade for one street, just one street without immigrants.
Yes. Well, there were immigrants back then. There were Irish immigrants, Colin.
You know the ones I mean.
Yes, I do.
Tell me, what prevents us from building buildings like what the Victorians did?
Well, I think it might be the riches plundered from exploiting other countries combined with inhumanely low wages,
Now
Colin.
he's on about the British Museum again.
I am,
Look, foreign people should be grateful we're keeping their items, otherwise they'd only lose them. And they can see them whenever they like. Entry is free, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Look, all I'm saying is those were the days when you had everything in your local area. You could walk.
Oh, absolutely. It would be great, wouldn't it, if we could return to the days when everything was within 15 minutes walk, Colin?
Oh, don't you try and make me have everything I need within 15 minutes.
No.
What are you, Stalin? Next you'll be rationing my food, like the government did in those videos of London I want to return to. That's the trouble with this country.
Yeah.
Something entirely innocent is made toxic to suit a political agenda. Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
Not one immigrant built the pyramids. Stick that in your pipe, Soros.
Oh my goodness, the The immigrants didn't build the pyramids. Rishi Sunak's speech to Conservative conference fell flat with public polls suggests. So the problem with the speech was that it was geared towards the Tory faithful, and the public don't really give a crap. During his speech, the Prime Minister confirmed his long-rumoured decision to scrap the northern leg of HS2 between Birmingham and Manchester, and announced plans to introduce some of the strictest smoking laws in the world. New polling for Politics Hub with Sophie Ridge by Find Out Now suggests that the speech went down somewhat poorly with the public, if they even bother to tune in at all. You can see here Sunak's speech: national 18%, Conservatives 4% for very poor. Excellent 4%, Conservatives 34%. Didn't watch or listen to it 61%, 25%. I didn't actually see it. I saw some highlights of it, but I didn't actually see it. HS2 announcement. Yes. Is scrapping the Birmingham to Manchester leg of HS2 the correct decision? Yes, 34%. No, 27%. And don't know, 39%. Conservatives 66, 18, 16. Means that the Conservatives are not in lockstep with the public. That's a big problem. So this was a speech for the Conservatives, not for the public. Do you agree with changing the age of smoking? National 61, Conservative 81. I really didn't understand the point of this. There's a cost of living crisis. The NHS is on its knees. Schools are crumbling. The businesses are struggling. And what is Rishi Sunak talking about? Smoking. Do you think Rishi Sunak is doing well or badly in his job as Prime Minister? The National said 18 well, badly 48%, and neither 21, and don't know 13%. Don't know if he's doing well. Okay, there's always going to be a small percentage of people who answer don't know to pretty much anything. Ruth, thank you so much for that super chat. Happy birthday, Max and Mrs. DB. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Smoking ban. Smoking is already expensive. Yes. I don't smoke, so I don't know how much it costs, but I know, for example, in Ireland, it's really, really expensive to smoke. Twice the price than it is here in Italy. But making cigarettes expensive doesn't turn people off. If you really want people to stop smoking, then you ban cigarettes. But the government aren't going to do that because it's a moneymaker. How do you feel about the Conservative Party? 45% negative, 32%. Okay, so on a sliding scale from negative to positive, 9.5% is positive about the Conservative Party. Who would you prefer as leader of the Conservatives? Okay, Rishi Sunak 50%, Penny Mordaunt 16%, Nigel Farage 13%. This is from members of the Conservative Party. Of course, they support Rishi Sunak, but in second place, behind the Prime Minister, was Penny Mordaunt, leader of the House of Commons and president of the Privy Council, while Nigel Farage, the former UKIP and Brexit Party leader, came in third. Nigel Farage is in third place to be the next leader of the Conservative Party, even though he's not a member. Or he was a member at one stage, but now he's no longer. He's not an MP. He's not even a member of the Conservative Party. And 13% of the party want him to be the leader. Now that could go up. That could go up if the situation changes. Once Rishi Sunak is kicked out, there's a good chance that Nigel Farage could take over. I'm told £20 per pack of 20. So about £1 a cigarette. That's quite expensive. £14 a packet. With all the Tory splinter groups holding their own little get-together, they've got about 6 this year. Tax cigarettes too high, you feed criminality through smuggling or worse, counterfeiting. That's a good point. Nigel will never be the leader of the Tories. That would require him doing a proper job. Yes, he's not interested. He's interested in influence. He's interested in attention, but he doesn't want to be the leader of the party. He doesn't want to be Prime Minister because that would require him making difficult decisions, and it would require him taking responsibility for things. And he doesn't want to do that. You know, if he fails, then he's gone. It would be embarrassing for him. He doesn't want that. He wants to be influencing the party. I could see a situation, I wanted to say this in the video, but I didn't get around to it, but I can see a situation where Nigel Farage is brought on board as some sort of campaign manager for the Conservatives, but he's not a member. He's one doing interviews for them. He's doing rallies for them, and this could help the Conservatives a great deal. But if he's not running, it's going to be difficult for him to have any. Well, it depends on, like, people have a very strange relationship, like approach to Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is good at whipping up hatred. He's good at getting people to sit up and listen to him. But I don't know if that would actually translate into votes. Now, one thing is being a showman. Another thing is actually delivering seats for the Conservatives. Like what happened with the Brexit Party in 2019, it was a protest vote. Like UKIP was always a protest vote. They didn't send people to the European Parliament to do anything. It was just to protest. That's all Farage did. He was meant to attend many meetings and he didn't bother to turn up. When he did turn up, he just, threw a hissy fit and looked for attention. That's what he was there for. He wasn't actually to engage with the European Parliament. Wasn't there to fight for his constituents. It was all just a protest. So, that works to a certain extent. But if you're in government, you actually have to deliver things. You can't just be a protest. And Farage could be put in a position where he's protesting against a Labour government. And it could work. He doesn't actually have to achieve very much. He just needs to change the narrative, to convince the public that, maybe it'd be better to have Nigel Farage in charge. He doesn't actually have to do the work. He doesn't actually have to become, Prime Minister. He just needs to convince a lot of people that they think he would make a good Prime Minister. Unfortunately, that's how politics is all screwed up. Brad once again, thanks so much for that super chat. Farage is the political equivalent of thrush. Disgusting and keeps coming back. Yes. That's it, Brad. You can't get rid of him. You can use whatever ointment or any bleach that you want. He's like maybe a bit more, bit like mold. You can scrape it, you can bleach it, but it'll just keep coming back. You can ventilate, but it doesn't get rid of it. You need to remove the plaster. You need to dig it out. And that's what Farage, he needs to be completely removed from politics. But he keeps coming back because he's been able to achieve is the heckler in chief. So he's great at heckling, great at standing on the sidelines telling people how they, like the dad who's at the kids' football match telling the manager, no, you should be doing it this way, you should be doing it that way. He's like like some sort of Karen. He's like Space Karen, from what's his name? Elon Musk, Space Karen. But it's like, this is what you should be doing. When it comes to Ukraine, you hear it all the time. Ukraine should be just giving up territory for peace or whatever. It's not about actually achieving something. It's just about convincing people that he would be the right person for the job. But he knows that he'll never take up that job. The STD party. Thomas, thanks so much for that super chat. Yes, that's the Conservatives. Before we get to the story about Liverpool, I just wanted to show you that this is a really heartbreaking story. I really don't understand this. I don't understand why this goes on.
So I've been using my wheelchair for about 4-ish years now. And before that, I used walking sticks and crutches. And especially since using my wheelchair, I've experienced a lot more hate crime.
Last year, I spoke to disabled people about their experiences with discrimination. But a year on, and the situation hasn't improved, and in some ways, the experiences get more disturbing.
I know for me, I've experienced a lot of hate crime in terms of people...
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Freckle Punny. Thanks so much, Freckle Punny, for that super chat. Farage as leader, bleeder more like, yes. It's about Farage as leader of the Conservative Party would be an absolute disaster. They will end up losing support because it's like UKIP, like the Brexit Party. They don't actually represent something. It's just a protest vote, and people are not going to vote for that. People voted for Boris Johnson because they thought he'd get Brexit done, but of course that you can only lie to people so often until they give up on you, like a bit like crying the boy who cried wolf. Thanks. Sorry I missed your super chat before.
People grabbing me and inappropriately touching me. And I think things around when I'm getting on public transport, if I'm getting on trains or tubes or buses, lots of people sort of come over and offer to help, but it's very much under the guise of sort of touching my chest or touching my crotch or those sorts.
Like, what is wrong with people? Like, why would you do this? And of course, you have somebody who's in a situation where they can't like move away quickly. They can't escape the situation. Maybe this is what it's about. Taking advantage of somebody who's in a situation where they can't escape this type of abuse. And how about celebratory guillotines for the birthday? Thanks so much, Thomas. Yes, that's what we'll have to do. But it's tomorrow, so I don't want to preempt. But thank you very much.
Sorts of things, and I think it looks like they're helping, so people don't really notice or don't take note of it at all, but in reality it's just sexual assault, specifically because I'm disabled.
Do you think disabled people know when or how to report incidents?
I've reported one incident in my life. I filled it in on this website and they sent it over to my local police station, and it was sort of 2 weeks afterwards and the police called me and were like, oh, it's too late for you to have reported this, sort of thing. So like, I don't think disabled people know how to report it, and then when you sort of work up the courage and you do, often
how can it be too late to report something?
It's too late, or they're not willing to try and like help you with your case. So for me, it ends up feeling a little bit pointless. Since then and sort of that learning, I'm a lot more aware, but I think a lot of disabled people aren't. You just have these really awful experiences and they sit with you for a really long time, and even the idea that something can be done isn't really an option in your mind.
In 2020, there was a hate crime strategy which had a focus on protecting disabled people. But that hasn't been renewed, and instead hate crimes will be rolled into a wider policing strategy. The United Response charity says this could mean disabled people get less justice. What do you think should be done?
We'd like to see central government funding for all police forces to have a disability liaison officer in every police station across the country. This, we believe, would make people feel much more confident to report when they've been a victim of a disability hate crime or an incident. We also would like to see the government renew its commitment to introduce its hate crime strategy. Our worry is that it could have the same outcome as someone who has their mobile phone stolen, but for disabled victims, there is a long-lasting impact when they're a victim of disability hate crime.
Rachel is based in Leeds and has experienced discrimination while travelling on public transport. When do you feel most vulnerable?
A lot of hate crime happens on public transport because you're isolated during the journey, which makes some people feel more confident in saying mean things or doing mean things.
Does it stop you using public transport?
Sometimes it makes me think twice, but you can't live your life like that.
Rachel doesn't want to be defined by this abuse, It's about society changing, not disabled people. What do you think?
That's 100% agreement. You can't be disabled people have to go out of their way to avoid this type of abuse. So, society needs to change. People need to be informed. And things like the disability liaison officer at the police station could go a long way, because it would allow people, if you call up and you explain what's happened to you, if the police officers haven't been trained or don't understand the extra difficulties that maybe people with disabilities have, then they're not going to be able to investigate it correctly, and they're not even going to listen to the problem, as was pointed out before. Like there's a statute of limitations on reporting a crime, like a assault like this. Is this true? This is the society the Tories want.
Should change.
We really need disabled people and able-bodied people to be more aware of what disability hate crime looks like, because people, I think, are becoming more aware of sort of what race-based hate crime looks like, or homophobia looks like, but that hasn't extended to disability the same, and I think that really needs to happen.
The Home Office told us, we expect the police to take these crimes extremely seriously and work with the CPS to ensure victims receive justice.
Yes, but if the Home Office don't invest the resources necessary, then, disabled people are going to report crimes, but they're not going to be investigated. And in some cases, they won't be investigated because the police don't have the resources, or the police don't actually know what to do. Like, they're not interested, they don't have the time, or they don't have the interest. And this is a huge problem. So the Home Office will say, yes, this is what the police should be doing and what the CPS should be doing, but it's a bit pointless if you're not investing the resources. And unfortunately, look at people like Suella Braverman, Priti Patel before her, and others. They simply don't care. We have a super chat from Cthulhu. Cthulhu, thank you so much for that super chat. Please sing happy birthday to Roisin, Stefan, and yourself. Are you playing games once again? Because I remember Cthulhu asked me to sing happy birthday to Cthulhu, but it wasn't Cthulhu's birthday. That was very insincere. That was very sly. So yes, I will sing happy birthday. I don't know why you asked me, because I can't sing. Is it just for fun? Let me clear my voice a little bit. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Roisin and Stefan and me. Happy birthday to you. Or in Ireland, as we say, yous. There, now you've had it. Of course, it's been recorded. So, Cruella. Yes, Thomas, well said, Cruella. Okay, I want to move on to another story related to Liverpool. So this weekend, Liverpool is hosting the Labour Party conference, but this was a journalist from ITV who asked Keir Starmer about the Sun newspaper, or as I like to call it, the Scum newspaper.
You promised you wouldn't give interviews to the Sun in your 2020 leadership campaign. Can you tell people in Liverpool why you continue to write for a paper that is widely boycotted in the city?
It is very important that we have a change of government so we can take our country forward. In order for that to happen...
Why do you keep writing for the Sun?
In order for that to happen, I have to make sure that what we have to say is communicated to as many people as possible in the time that we've got available. And that is why I'm very happy to work with the Sun, to write for the Sun, to do interviews with the Sun or any other media outlet in order to ensure that
Do you understand?
Buffering. Okay, while that's buffering, thank you so much, Andrew. Applause. Thank you so much, Andrew. This is concerning because you should. I understand what Starmer is trying to say here. Look, if I use the Sun as an outlet, if I use them to reach other people, then I can do that. Because a lot of people read the Sun and they don't listen to me. While if I write for the Sun newspaper, well, that's a way of accessing this market of people. But you have to understand the hatred that the Sun directed at the people of Liverpool following the Hillsborough disaster, and the way that they wrote about how fans were urinating on victims or beating up the police and stuff like this, all a pile of lies in order to turn the public against the victims of the Hillsborough disaster. And you know, there's a reason that's the reason why, and probably for many others as well, but that's the main reason why the Sun is so hated in Liverpool. And to go and host the Labour Party conference in Liverpool and defend writing articles for the Sun, of course people are going to be upset.
Outlet in order to ensure that
Do you understand why
make
that
the change
angers
that we
people
need.
in Liverpool?
Of course I understand that. I was Director of Public Prosecutions when the report came in on the Hillsborough case. I met the families myself. I absolutely understand how deeply it is felt. I've spoken to some of the families. When I spoke to them, some of them were only coming to terms for the first time with the full extent of what had happened and the many times they've been let down. But for them, for Liverpool, for the whole of the North West, the single most important thing that I can do is to ensure that we get a change of government. I can only do that by communicating to as many people as possible the positive case that we have.
Does anyone honestly believe that people who read the Sun newspaper have never heard of Sir Keir Starmer, don't know what he stands for? That their opinion would change if they read an article about him in the Sun or read an article written by him for the Sun? Like if he said, well, I'm going to ignore the Sun, but I'm going to go with the Daily Mail or the Express. Like, some people will see this as him cozying up to Rupert Murdoch or the Murdoch Empire, because he wants to show the Murdoch Empire, look, I'm a good guy, okay? I'm not Jeremy Corbyn. I'm not a socialist. I'm on your team. Is this what he's doing, or is it honestly about trying to reach out to as many people as possible? Maybe Starmer will get the British Bill of No Rights done. The Murdoch toilet paper. To an extent, Starmer has a point. However, this is more prevalent 30 years ago. The Sun is no longer the force it was sales-wise, and not just on Merseyside. Yes, the Sun is not... Like, we have social media. This is where the future is, and the present and the future. The Sun, it's not the Sun newspaper. Yes, I don't have the figures in front of me for the circulation of the Sun, but it's nowhere near, YouTube or Instagram or something like that, which is where most people will get most of their information from. Facebook, it make more sense publishing stuff on Facebook than going to the Sun. Keir stands for the national anthem. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about. Staying with Liverpool, just another story with Liverpool. It says here, Liverpool announces it will bring buses under public control. Liverpool will bring its buses back under public control after the mayor announced he was introducing franchising to allow the region to set routes and fares. The decision means the Liverpool region will become the second place to overturn decades of bus deregulation in England after Greater Manchester brought in its new B network 2 weeks ago. The Metro Mayor Steve Rotherham said the move marked the start of a new era for public transport in the region, adding, for too long our residents have been forced to contend with second-class service that places profit before passengers and leaves behind the very people who need it most. Under franchising, he said the region would have greater control over fares, tickets and routes to ensure that bus services are run in the best interest of passengers. This is great news. This is the way it should be done. If you're not going down the road completely of nationalisation of the bus service and public transport, at least this type of franchising way would, okay, yeah, you want to provide services, but then if you want to make money out of this to the private sector, you can operate, but you need to provide services that we request, and if you don't, then you don't win the franchise. So it will mean that buses will be provided, I believe, by private companies, but they will have to operate also on non-profitable routes. Because before, what they could do was just avoid the non-profitable routes and focus on the profitable ones and make as much as money as possible, but not provide a service that's good for passengers and citizens. So this is a good move forward. More power to people like Andy Burnham and other Labour mayors, because they understand the real problems and they're trying to do whatever they can to fix it.
Labour.
More on the Sun.
MPs. What will they make of Sir Keir Starmer's comments about the much despised newspaper, saying he's happy to work with the Sun, he's happy to write for the Sun and to do interviews for the Sun? That's going to be a challenge on the doorstep in Liverpool, isn't it?
Well, listen, everybody knows my views on that rag and what they did to this city in 1989. You know, I've written extensively about how that besmirched the city when the whole city were crying injustice and all they want is lurid headlines. So I've got no time at all for that newspaper. But the leader of the Labour Party will make his own decisions, and of course that includes who he speaks to.
Liverpool has...
So that's the guy from Liverpool saying it, so I can't add anything extra. Andrew, once again, thank you so much, Andrew. Maybe Starmer's trying to freak Murdoch out with so much so that he gives him a heart attack. I think happy thoughts. Maybe that's the case. Yeah, I'll write articles for you. What? And then eventually he will leave us be. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. Thanks so much, Andrew. Moving on to Just Stop Oil. Just Stop Oil, have lost a major donor. Top Just Stop Oil donor Dale Vince pulls cash and says more protests are pointless. So, Dale Vince, who has been a very high-profile donor of the Just Stop Oil campaign, seems to have pulled the plug when it comes to funding. Dale Vince, who has donated to both climate change activists and Labour, says continued disruption was pointless as the government will not change its stance on oil and gas drilling in the North Sea. The Ecotricity founder said that he will divert his efforts to new causes called Just Vote, which encourages young people and first-time voters to exercise their democratic right. In a statement, Mr. Vince said, it's a fact that our electoral system that there is only a two parties that can form a new government. We want to bring a focus to this reality and to the opportunity that we have to elect a green movement, one that will embrace the opportunities we face rather than make an enemy of them, to use them to tackle the long list of issues we face as a country. So is he right? Well, he said a little bit more about this in an interview. Let me show you that.
I have the most immense respect for these people that put themselves on the front line, you know, in the face of aggression from some members of the public and from the state.
Okay, I'm having buffering problems tonight. Apologies for that.
From some members of the public and from the state for this thing that they believe in absolutely passionately out of complete frustration with what the government are doing. I understand that. They may carry on and do it. I don't know. What I'm saying is I think that will assist the Conservatives in their desperate attempt to get re-elected. It'll be part of the culture war. I'm not going to fund that anymore. Instead, I'm turning my attention to how we get the people that are being disenfranchised to be able to vote and to share this narrative around the green economy, show people what it's really worth, because the government are being misleading on this issue. It's the biggest opportunity of our century.
So is he right? Is it better to redivert your donations to convincing people to come out and vote, or to Just Stop Oil? So I think Just Stop Oil are going to continue, but to a certain extent he's correct. The impact they're having is limited, and I think perhaps this is more an issue inside the organization of Just Stop Oil. They've probably run out of ways to protest, because the government are cutting off their ability to protest, and their ways of protesting are becoming radical, but they're not having the impact that they want. And I think maybe there's a view that they're turning off the public. That the protest is needed, but what you want to do is you need to influence politics. And maybe he feels, if I convince young people to vote and push for green initiatives, this is a better use of money than to a protest. I've said before, unfortunately, because of the way politics works in Parliament, it makes more sense to, like, 100 letters to an MP would have a bigger impact than 100,000 people marching in the streets. That's the unfortunate reality of the situation. So if you're able to influence the politicians, then you're going to be influencing policy. And, if you look at it from the other point, on the other side, the Russians, multimillionaires and billionaires, have been donating to the Conservative Party, and they have been succeeding. I even joked about it before, if you wanted to make a huge amount of money, just go down to your local bank and say, I'd like to take out a loan for £5,000 to buy my local Tory MP. Okay, so they would give me a contract worth millions of pounds. That'd be a great way to make millions of pounds in an instant. Because it works, because donations work, because influence in politics works, influencing the people who are making the decisions work. Now, this is probably what he sees it in this way too. We've tried protesting, we're not changing the narrative, we're not forcing the politicians to adopt green policies. Then we need to try another approach, and maybe it is by donating to the Labour Party. The Labour Party are coming in, they're likely to be the next government. It makes sense to try and influence them. In the same way as, bad money is influencing the Tories, hopefully some good money will influence the Labour Party to back policies, green initiatives. And if people like this guy say, look, I'll donate to you once, if you implement these policies, I'll continue to donate to you. I have a lot of money, okay? I'm not short of a few quid. I can help you out if you put in place these initiatives. If you don't, then I'm going to pull my funding and inject that cash into somebody else. Unfortunately, this is the way things work. Money talks. I've said before, it'd be better to have publicly funded political parties, not privately funded ones, and then they would, or something like there was a candidate in the US in 2020. I forget what his name is. He was a supporter of UBI, but he had an idea, not his idea, but he was pushing an idea of democracy dollars or something like that, where everyone would be given a certain amount of money that they could donate to a political party. You couldn't take this money and spend it on something else. You had to spend it on a political party. And you could donate to whatever party you believed deserved it. And this would be a good way for political parties to raise money, because they'd actually have to come up with reasonable ideas. And they'd have to stick with those ideas, because if they didn't, then people would vote for different parties at the following election based on promises made and promises delivered. So guys, we're almost at the end of the stream. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who came on tonight. Let me read some more of your... was that Yang? Yes, it was. Andrew Yang, that was him. I think he turned a bit weird after that. Went down a bit of a rabbit hole, but some of his ideas were really good. UBI, for example. Sinn Féin raises a lot of funds in the USA, which they can use in Northern Ireland, but not in the Republic of Ireland, where domestic donations are capped and foreign donations are not allowed. So that could happen. That's a good way of using Northern Ireland as a sort of a channel for Sinn Féin. Bernie Sanders, no, it wasn't Bernie Sanders. It was Andrew Yang at the time. Younger people need to be educated early about politics, like arts, history, social sciences. Just my opinion. No, I completely agree with you, Stefan. Young people are the future, and if they're educated, they're going to make a change in the future. It makes sense for the Tories to keep people indifferent to politics, ignorant of politics, because it's easier for them to be convinced to vote for the Conservative Party. Department of Education has admitted to bungling funding figures for state schools in England next year after revealing £370 million error in previous announcements by ministers, 50 less a pupil in 2024. Not for private schools, of course. Private schools will be okay. Cthulhu says, I support Sinn Féin. No, you support somebody in Sinn Féin. I know all about you. So guys, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who came on. Thank you so much to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated. Before we finish, we have our one for the road. This Sunday we should have a Sunday roast if everything is okay. We're still planning some stuff, but there should be a very interesting Sunday roast, some very interesting guests. If I don't see you then, I'll see you on Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Before we go, of course, we have our one for the road. Hope you enjoy this. I'm sure you will.
Need to stand up and
let me start it again.
Conference. We need to stand up and fight for our right to party with Nigel Farage.
Thank you for that lovely introduction from my wife. It reminded me why I was first attracted to her, billionaire family. 3 cheers for GB News. One for every presenter they've sacked this week. We know who's really in charge, and it's not us. Do you think things would be in such a mess if we had anything to do with it? We know who's really to blame, and his name rhymes with Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn. I won't take lectures from people for whom spending thousands of pounds means nothing, because why would I take lectures from myself? I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. Disabled people, just pretending. Trans people, just pretending. Asylum seekers, just pretending. Now, some people would say that saying that makes me a bad person, but I don't care, because those people live in ivory towers with luxury beliefs, whereas I live in the gutter with the real people of this country. We need to take the concerns of renters seriously, because look, not all renters smoke drugs or are in gangs, you know. I mean, for goodness sake, my children both rent from me. And yes, they are a bad example because they both smoke drugs and are in a gang, but the point still stands. Labour want to ban meat, outlaw driving, replace teachers with drag queens, policemen with people smugglers, and most of all, they want to replace Midsummer Murders with Naked Attraction. I've taken the bold decision to cancel one big infrastructure project and replace it with loads of small infrastructure projects that won't happen. We're bringing new transport projects to the north. For the very first time, you'll be able to take a train to Leeds, or a bus to Bradford, or even drive to Hull. None of this would be possible under Sir Keir Starmer. We're going to reform education by replacing the A and T levels with the Advanced British Standard. So advanced, it won't be here for about a decade, by which time I'll be in charge of TikTok or something. You know, I want to be able to look around my town centre and not think it looks like a foreign country. And no, I don't think that makes me xenophobic. I'm not scared of monks. We need to stand up and fight. I mean, seriously, does anyone want to fight? I've got a sword. Above all, this country knows that it is time for a change, and we are shit.
Well said, well said. So guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Sunday roast. If not then, I'll see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. Oh, we have a super chat from Cavan Lad. Thank you so much, Cavan Lad, for he is a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us. Have a good one, Max. Thank you so much. I will. I'll have a great. I'll post some images on Twitter maybe tomorrow. For what I'm doing tomorrow. Have a great weekend, guys. See you soon. Take care, and as always, good night and stay safe.